What is up, and welcome to another edition of the Mile High Hoops podcast. As always, I am your host, Zach Bai, and as always, I appreciate you spending a sliver of your busy day with me right here on the pod, reacting to a come-from-behind uppercase W at Ball Arena on Monday night, 134-116 over the New Orleans Pelicans. I was in the building for this one, my first game this year. I have plenty of thoughts. It was really exciting. A game that Denver got down 20 points at one point in the first half. I think it was 61-41, and then proceeded to blow out New Orleans. They were up at one point 20 points. So think about that type of swing. Incredibly uncommon, but not for these Denver Nuggets, who are reshaping on the fly the way that I'm thinking about them. I couldn't have been more bullish on this team coming into the season. We talked about that in the early episodes, but here we are in the moment, and whatever invisible geofence that I had as a ceiling for them, I just don't have it. I'm continuously floored. And how do you become floored when your expectations are already so high? It's truly nights like Monday night that once again have me redefining what I already thought is going to be a championship team. And I think that it's just, you go into this game without Jamal Murray. It's your first game without him. New Orleans can be very tough. This is what I think is a pretty good basketball team. We'll see what happens with Zion's sustained health. But this is a team that's going to give a lot of clubs fits throughout the year, a winning team. I expect them to be. And the Nuggets just, the Nuggets went dad strength on them. And this is something that happened over the weekend against Chicago, where it was like a middling type of game, and it was spearheaded by Nikola Jokic there in the second half against the Bulls. It's just, okay, we're done playing with our food now, and we are going to pound your ass in this second stanza. And we've now seen it multiple times this year, and it speaks to the level that these Nuggets are on, these world championship Nuggets are on, that you could even remove their second best all-star caliber player, and they could dominate a team with a winning record. This is a team now in Denver that is 5-0 at home. This is a group right now that has a chance to be the best home team in the history of this franchise. And I'm expecting them to do it. This is what I'm talking about with on the fly redefining expectation, right? It's already sky high, but how could it be higher? Well, become the greatest home team in the history of the Denver Nuggets. You've played 5 times at home. You've won all 5. This is just who they are. Guys, this is just who they are. And it's, of course, led by Nikola Jokic, who makes history on Monday night. I was so thankful to be in the building for this, passing LeBron James and Jason Kidd for 4th all-time, breaking that tie at 107 triple-doubles. Jokic now 108, sitting solo first place all time. He is now just 30 triple-doubles behind Magic Johnson. Think about that statement. These are the gods of the game, the shoulders in which the current era, the current GOAT like Jokic is standing on their shoulders, and he's on Magic's block in terms of triple-double count, and he could get there by the end of the season. Not crazy. Guys, Nikola Jokic, and this is not a hot take. This is not a take based on Monday night alone. This is an all-encompassing take given the context of what we've seen here for years out of Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic is trending to be one of the 10 greatest players of all time by the time he turns 30 years old. And I am as serious as a heart attack here, okay? I do believe he's ultimately going to be in that conversation regardless. If he can maintain his health, I don't know what would get in the way here moving forward of him being a part of those conversations. But I'm talking about the immediate future of the next 2 years. If Nikola Jokic does in the next 2 years, and he's 28 years old, what I expect him to do, I think we are looking at one of the 10 greatest players in the history of the game of basketball. He is is redefining greatness at a position that we've obviously never seen this type of production out of the center spot. But you talk about having more triple doubles than LeBron James and doing it in 813 less games than LeBron? Are you kidding me? You're talking about a guy that led the first player in NBA history to lead an entire postseason in points, rebounds, and assists. A guy who averaged a triple-double for an entire postseason. A guy who was the first player in NBA history to have a 2,000-point, 1,000-rebound, 500-assist season. Like, what else do we need to see? He's multiple MVPs. That's already in his back pocket. Finals MVP, already in his back pocket. We've talked it on this podcast before. He's the 11th player ever to have two regular season MVPs and a finals MVP, right? Like, he's going to add to this. And he is putting himself in a category that it is impossible nearly right now to not have him as one of the 20 greatest players of all time. I think he's already there. But if he keeps this pace, I do believe with every ounce of me, this takes no coaxing or building up for this take. I just legitimately believe this is what we're watching. And I'm watching a guy that, and I tweeted about this Friday night, who looks like he cares more than ever. He looks more emotional about the game than ever. You know, and I was talking with a friend of mine, a college teammate of mine who is a trainer and does a great job and trains NBA guys. And, you know, we were having a conversation about Jokic, and he said, you know, I think Jokic might just go back to Serbia after this contract. And of course, that's not a new thought. Like, that's been around. And I told him, I said, Dags, no, because I'm watching a guy, and maybe that ends up being true, and I really don't care at this point for the purpose of this conversation. I'm watching a guy that looks like he cares more than ever before. You know, on Friday against the Mavericks on national TV, I'm watching veins pop out of his neck and his head because he's screaming with emotion. Guys, it was at that time the fifth game of the year, sixth game of the year. But this is where we're at with Jokic. And I think if I could try to zero in on the one thing that's a little bit different this year with Jokic, okay? Because he was already great, already historically great. But there's something that's different. And I'm seeing it. He is more demonstrative. He looks like more of a leader, showing leadership qualities that we've asked to see. That's like the next layer of his development. And I just see a guy who is giving a middle finger to the NBA. That's what I see. I see a guy that's giving a middle finger to the rest of the National Basketball Association. He's going right at guys in a way that we've seen in spurts, obviously, but not as sustained as what we're seeing right now. It's every stinking night. And I just don't know if you are paying attention. How could you refute anything that I'm saying? Again, it's barely opinionated. It just feels like natural facts, as plain as the nose on your face. That's what we're seeing out of Nikola Jokic, and it is beyond anything that I have ever seen. You know, and through my life, the greatest basketball player the players that I've ever seen: LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal. Prime Shaq was the most dominant force I've ever seen. This is on that level, and it's not like he's poking his head up to that level. He's looking these guys in the eye. In the eye. Hold on to that. Okay, I want to talk about just some of the other stuff from Monday night. First of all, being in the building, like if you told me that that when I first got to Denver in 2017, you could go to that game on Monday night against New Orleans. You could literally get in the building for probably $8. $8. You sit up top. You could sit, if you waited until a half hour before tip-off, you could sit in the lower bowl for probably $25. On a Monday night in November against New Orleans, guys, that crowd was insane on Monday night. It was packed. You could not find empty seats. All right, it was, for all intents and purposes, sold out on a Monday night in November against not the Lakers, not the Warriors, right? Not to see Giannis, all right, not to see LeBron, but to see the Pelicans, who they have storylines that, Zion or, BI, like they're solid operation, solid players, whatever. But the point is just like, man, I'm like, wow, if you told me this in 2017, I would have said, what happened? What could have happened? Did some free agent pick Denver? And it's just unrecognizable over that 7-year period. And I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that. Michael Porter Jr., he's stabilizing. I encouraged myself at the same time I'm encouraging the listener last week of like, let's stay the course with Michael Porter Jr. I understand that people get frustrated with him. He drives people nuts. What happened in the NBA Finals, 14% from three, starting the season really slow, didn't finish a game, got benched in the first 4 games of the season. So, rocky start. Michael Porter Jr. is stabilizing. On Monday night, 8 of 16 shooting. I went into that game, bet on my Superbook app over 17.5 points. He cleared it easily, scored 22, had 9 rebounds. He's been so active on the glass, and I don't want to minimize that, okay? 3 assists. 3 assists for MPJ. Stuff like that matters with him. 2 assists on Saturday against Chicago. Had an assist against Dallas. He has had an assist in every single game this year. Every single game. Now pull up his game log from a year ago. You will find a lot of goose eggs from Michael Porter Jr. in that department. He is becoming more multiple. He is doing more. In addition to finding his shot. Made 2 threes on Monday night, made 5 threes on Saturday, made 4 against the Mavs. So you're talking about a guy who's now made 11 threes in his last 3 games. He's figuring it out. And I'll say this too, with the absence of Jamal, Porter could have went into that game and shot 20 to 22 times. There was a lot of times that Michael Porter Jr. actually turned down what I thought was a good open shot and purposefully trying to get others involved, just next pass type deals to his teammates. So I love to see that. 22, 27, and 24 in his last 3 games. You look at the 3 games before that, it was, 5 points against Minnesota, 8 points against Utah. It just wasn't good enough. And he is rounding into shape. And I feel like the absence of Jamal over the next couple weeks, and it will be a couple weeks, Michael Malone said that in the pregame. So let's prepare for that. But if Michael Porter Jr. is playing this well, man, I don't think there's going to be some sort of huge drop-off. I really don't. Moving on here, I thought Aaron Gordon was like underratedly good. You see him handling the ball more. He's more of a playmaker right now. 6 assists on Monday night for Michael Porter or for Aaron Gordon. That is beyond impressive. And finishes with a double-double, 15 points, 12 rebounds, efficient from the floor, distributing in a way that is uncommon for AG. So huge shout out there. Contavious Caldwell-Pope, 50% from the floor on Monday night against New Orleans. Love to see it. Finishes with 15 points. And then off the bench, the big story, and probably should have led with him right after Jokic, Julian Strawther. Julian Strawther's emergence, 21 points. That's a career high. Obviously, his career's just getting started. The rookie out of Gonzaga, smart player. Guys, looks confident. Looks the part, like the part of a guy who plays for the world champions. We're going to have nights where we come in here and are probably reacting to an 0 for 5 from the field, maybe a DMP coach's decision. So I don't want to get carried away here. But Strawther looks like a confident player. He doesn't look like a rookie. He really does not. And for him to go 8 of 13 from the floor, it's over 60% shooting, making 5 threes. I heard a stat on the Fan earlier today. He's the first ever rookie to score 20 points and make 5 threes and score 20 points in less than 20 minutes in NBA history. Think about that. So they may have really found something here in Julian Strawther. Young man out of Gonzaga, smart player, smart program, right? And don't minimize that. The transition from playing for Mark Few and what is required to play in that program from an intellect standpoint, a basketball IQ standpoint, solid transition solid transition, and a really great night for Julian Strawther. Am I expecting to see it again? On Wednesday against Golden State? Probably not. But you just, bank that, because that was a signature night for Strawther. And I think his minutes are going to keep coming. Couple other thoughts here. Every single player on the Nuggets who played more than 1 minute had an assist. Again, speaks to, it's a microcosm, something small that represents something larger. That's the culture of this basketball team. And I love to see it in that way when it's just up and down the stat sheet. Every guy who was out there distributed the basketball to their teammate who scored. Love it. Love the activity from Peyton Watson. Although he didn't light up the stat sheet, I thought he was very active and just going out there and being an athlete who's playing really, really stinking hard. And I liked what I saw from Colin Gillespie in the second half of that game. He kind of stabilized there. Not a great first half. You see they target him defensively. He's small. I don't know. I'm such a big fan. I don't know if he's going to work out long term, but I did like what I saw on Monday night. I think that was all the thoughts I wanted to get to from the game itself. It's a big game on Wednesday at home against the Golden State Warriors. I'm really looking forward to that game. I may go right back to Ball Arena if my wife lets me. I'm not sure. But it was so good to be in the house. Shout out a couple listeners that I saw down there. Appreciate you guys saying hello. And appreciate you guys listening to this podcast. We're going to wind things down here on a Tuesday if you're listening in real time or on YouTube. And guys, hit me up on all the social channels. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. Feel free to hit me up if you want me to discuss something in particular here on the Mile High Hoops podcast. That's the best way to reach me, is those social channels. I keep my DMs open if you don't want to just reply openly. Good stuff there. Really good stuff, man. The Nuggets are absolutely rolling, 7-1. It's one of the best starts in franchise history. And to see if they can go to 8-1 on Monday night against the Golden State Warriors. They present a unique challenge. You already know all the things that come with Golden State. It's going to be a wild atmosphere at Ball Arena, and I just can't wait. They're off to a good start. They're 6-2 in their first 8 games at the time of recording here, so really fun. And then we'll turn around and come in here on Thursday and react to that basketball game. Guys, best way to grow this podcast, tell a friend, grassroots approach. That's what we've done here for 6 seasons, and we've got this far. Really appreciate that continued support. It's not lost on me at all. All right, we're going to leave it there for now, guys. Whatever happens on Wednesday at Ball Arena against the Golden State Warriors, you already know we're going to be talking about it right here on the Mile High Hoops podcast.